Hey, what is up guys? I'm KBHD here, and this is the new Google Pixel 3a. Don't know yet what the A stands for, but we can basically think of this phone as the budget version of the Pixel 3. And this is yet another phone that was leaked into oblivion. We knew pretty much everything about it on paper before it came out. The 3a name, the design, all of the specs pretty much, the packaging. The only thing we didn't really know was the price. We knew it would be the budget Pixel, but how low could they get the price? And there was some speculation on it, but now that it was fully announced yesterday at Google I/O, we have that too. It'll start at $399. So this is the 3a XL. There's a larger version of the two phones as well. And on the outside, as you can tell, it's almost impossible to tell it apart from a regular Pixel 3 just by looking at it. It shares the design language of its more expensive brothers pretty clearly. But to me, this is a really interesting and potentially awesome $400 phone. So when you think of a typical champion budget Android phone, in 2018, 2019, that's the one that brings the high-end specs all the way down in price, which is amazing. But you know you're going to sacrifice in three main areas, and that's the camera, always, and the screen, and the build quality. Like, it's so consistent in this world. Think of the Pocophone F1, for example, budget phone of the year last year. It turned everybody's heads because it got the latest and greatest Snapdragon 845 and freaking 8 gigs of RAM and a 4,000 milliamp hour battery. So it killed it with the specs. But again, with those three main things, the screen, you know, it was okay. It's fine. It was a 6-inch LCD screen, so nothing to complain about, but it's not flagship. The camera, it was better than actually most people expected for the price, but it was definitely not a flagship camera either. And then that build quality is, you know, it's plastic. But this Pixel 3a, in that same world, kind of flips that formula. It flips the script backwards on its head, where this blatantly sacrifices in the specs. This is a Snapdragon 670 and 4 gigs of RAM. It's, you know, obviously mid-range, but it has a killer camera and it has a pretty great screen. I don't think I've ever been able to say a budget Android phone actually legit has an excellent camera. Like, sometimes it's great for the price, you know, like the Pocophone, but actually competing with flagships, yeah, this would be a first. So if your priorities are in image quality specifically, this turns into an excellent option. So build quality, of course, is still what they make sacrifices on. Like I said, it looks just like the Pixel 3, but as soon as you hold it, you know, it's lightweight, it's made of this hard plastic instead of glass. I mean, it's polycarbonate is what they call it, but, you know, plastic. And then there's some corners cut out with the hardware. There is no wireless charging coil in this Pixel 3a. There's also no water resistance. They didn't spend money on the IP certification. And there's also, of course, still no expandable storage. Pixel 3 also had a pair of stereo front-facing speakers, while the 3a is giving you a single top front-facing speaker up where the earpiece usually is, and then there's nothing in the chin. It's still the same size, but you have speakers now at the bottom of the phone, but that's still more front-facing power than I can say about some flagships. And then it's down to a single rear-facing and single front-facing camera instead of the dual front-facing cameras of the bigger brothers. But it's not all cons though. I mean, they did obviously take those shortcuts to save their money, but there's still some things from the Pixel that have trickled down and are now top of their class for a $400 phone. First of all, they're not even trying to go bezel-less, which some would have argued would have looked cooler, but that means no notch. So some people will definitely appreciate that in a world where the Pixel 3 XL's bathtub notch still exists. It also has the same haptic motor, or the same excellent vibration motor as the Pixel 3, which from my experience has been literally the best in any Android phone, which is great because there are a lot of Android phones that have bad vibration motors that make them feel even cheaper than they are. So having an excellent one is a nice touch. Oh, and it has an extra port. You see this this little small circular 3.5mm circle up here? That's it's for headphones. It's got a headphone jack. Also, on top of that, this is a 1080p OLED display. A lot of budget phones in this range are rocking IPS LCD displays. OLED screens generally have looked better, have pitch black blacks, and are more common on higher end phones. So an OLED display in this one, like OnePlus used to when they made $400 phones, is a nice to have. And then of course, the camera. The Pixel 3a shares the same single camera sensor and essentially the same camera software as the current image quality reigning champ, the older brother Pixel 3, which is incredible. And that not only makes this instantly the best camera in any budget phone I've ever used, but arguably right up there as the best camera on any phone, period, which is awesome for this price. So that's why I say they flipped the typical formula for a budget Android phone sort of backwards. It used to always be, it's so predictable. You know you're gonna get some high-end specs brought down, but you know where the sacrifices are gonna be. But this is very different. Like, Google is definitely trusting their software to give you a good enough user experience in spite of the mid-range specs, but having an incredible camera and having an actually pretty great screen on this phone is just a very different set of corners to cut. Now, I do think it makes sense to be concerned a bit about those specs just because it's a Pixel again, and even the flagship Pixel 3 with this newest silicon hasn't had the best time staying fast over time. So an even lower end set of specs on the Pixel 3a might suffer the same fate. And then the 3000 milliamp hour battery or 3700 milliamp hour on the XL are not massive, but I still think they should fall right in line with about average, again, considering the more expensive brothers weren't really endurance champs either. But overall, I'm glad I have this phone in my hands. It feels like it's gonna be a fun one to play with. And let me know what you guys wanna see in the full review. It's been a while since I've reviewed a sub $500 phone, thanks to phones getting so expensive lately, but let me know what you're interested in, and if you would carry, you know, a phone that makes the right trade-offs like this for 400 bucks. It's not a bad start. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace.